Alright, Dokovan again. This time, the remaining anti-trigger units, or in this case, I think they should be called counter-trigger units. So let's begin. So first off, here are some promos. I am not gonna go over the V ones, but the D ones I will go over. But anyway, I will just have to say this is the Tachikaze and Nova Grappler, the one that prevents you from grade stuck units. In which we're going to start off with a lyrical promo, Refreshing Time Pretoria. Grade 2 tank power and skills. Auto, when placed on rearguard, cost Soul Blast 1, place all the cards from your bind zone to the drop and bind the top card to your deck. If it was a trigger unit, draw a card. For the D format, this basically can help Celestials or even counter those bind decks because you basically just reduce your bind count to 1. And for Celestials case, you want to keep it where you only have 1 card bound. In Premium, you can just use this against Narukami if you're playing Bermuda, so it's a card that you can technically just tech in. Next, the Stoicheia unit, Friendship Berry, which is grade 2 with 10k power and the skills. Act Rearguard. If your Vanguard is Magnolia, if your opponent's Vanguard is greater or greater, cost combos 1, put this to Soul. Choose a grade 4 Magnolia from your hand and write it as stand. Even though they technically have been ignoring grade 4s in a while, they actually decided to support grade 4s. Similar to the Nirvana one, except that this one is grade 2. Obviously run this so you could be 1 turn faster. And hopefully this will be a sign that they will be making more grade 4 soon as evolutions. Next, Chakrabarti Dance Reignite. It's a grade 1 set order for Dragon Empire, and this one could just be placed for free to your order zone. But it also has the additional part where auto, when placed in the order zone, or be discarded from hand as a cost of your Vanguard's ability from your Nirvana, draw a card. This is because both Nirvanas require you to discard a card anyway, so at least you could filter out your deck to draw more necessary pieces. Now why this card is good is for the second skill. If your Vanguard is a Nirvana, and your rearguard with Arena in its card name is placed to your deck or bind zone by your opponent's card ability, the original dress Trick Star goes back to your hand, while putting the remainder original dress goes to the drop. This is very important because this means that now you won't be easily losing all your key pieces. Because against something like a bind or rewind deck, you're going to be losing every single card that was original dress along with it. At least with this card, you can put back everything to the drop zone while still recycling your Trick Star. This means that you will still practically have your pieces for your overdress plays or even cross overdress plays. And even if you are against those matchups that don't retire or bind, well, you could just discard this card to draw more cards because both overdress and cross overdress just needs to draw their pieces. This basically just filters out the deck even further. The only problem with both decks is spacing, but this card does help in many ways. And then we got reprint promos with alternate arts in this same promo pack, and soon we'll get the other cards revealed for the remaining nations. And now to the counter trigger units itself. We start off with the Brandt one, that being Elbert X Striker, which is of course grade 3 with 13 power, has the same first skill where count Rearguard Guardian. If your opponent drive checks or damage checks a trigger unit, this card gets plus 10k power, 10k shield. To the unique skill where Act Rearguard once per turn, costs Soul Blast 1, apply the following abilities. During this turn, this card gets boost and an additional 2k power, so it could become a 15k booster. And costs remove an over trigger from your drop zone. During this turn, this card gets count back row rearguard. All your front row units gets plus 5k. Not only many Brandt decks lack room to pretty much run this because of the set orders, the other problem is that it's a 5k buff to your front row, which is not much for the over trigger part. And even if we do ignore that and go to the one without the over trigger, because that is a 1 out of 46 chance, the 15k boost isn't exactly too relevant for many of the decks. So I have to say this one is just kind of weak. And now to the Stoicheia one. Oh man, this one's really good. Flower Maiden of Yearning Florence. Of course, grade 3 with 13 power, same first skill, not going over that. But the unique part where auto rearguard once per turn when this card attacks, costs mill the top 2 cards of your deck and apply the following. Soul Charge 1, and during the turn this card gets plus 5k power. If the cards that you milled were normal units, it gets plus 15k instead. And then costs remove an over trigger unit from the drop zone, choose 1 unit card from your drop zone and add to your hand. The mill 2 is practically not even a cost for Stoicheia decks, as Stoicheia utilizes the drop zone. That is just really good right there. Not only that, you Soul Charge, which many Stoicheia decks also desperately need. On top of that, the unique over trigger part lets you bring back any unit card from the drop zone, which could be any of your key pieces. That is just pretty good right there. Just the fact that it just mills and Soul Charge on top is already really strong for Stoicheia. The only downside I could say is that you just need to be careful of the deck out problem. But for many Stoicheia decks, it's not really much of an issue unless you're playing Zorka. So yeah, this one I could definitely see play, especially just for the soul charge. So that's it for the new reveals of the remaining counter trigger units. What do you guys think of them? Brandt is just pretty weak. Stoicheia, that one is going to be pretty rough. The only thing is spacing, but I'm pretty sure you will find room to run this because this is just a good mill and soul charge engine, and Stoicheia does uses the drop zone pretty well. And then as for the promos are just good promos like usual, and I wish Bushi just stopped doing this, because these are just necessary cards that will just become very expensive, and that's the main thing I've been hating about Bushiroad lately. If there's good alternatives, it's fine, but seriously. But on that, that's for this, and see y'all next time.